Hey sis, it's me Courtney and I'm back with another video. Today is actually a story time about my Black sorority process and experience, and more specifically a conversation that I recently had when I went home with a member of this sorority that I was dropped from twice. And I just felt such a calling on my spirit to tell y'all about this conversation and just break it down in detail, because one, I was proud of myself for how I stood in my truth and spoke my truth and just how authentic and vulnerable I was in this conversation. And then I also just realized that, like, one, I'm not the only person that's been dropped from a Black sorority. I'm not the only person that is healing from triggered situations, and I'm not the only person that is learning and growing how to communicate. So I wanted to share this as like a blueprint. Like, if you're dealing with your own conflict that you're trying to figure out how to maneuver around or just how to address, I wanted to share this for you. And I did kind of touch bases about this in our live session that we had last week. So this is that conversation that I was talking about, sis. Okay, this is it. And if you stay until the end, I basically have gathered 3 takeaways that I took from this conversation that I want to share with you, that I believe will be very beneficial if you are dealing with a situation or a conversation where it's like, I need to express my truth to you. So if you're interested in those 3 takeaways that I got from this conversation, stay till the end and get those, okay? Also, I just want to say, this is not a video where I'm going to be revealing the sorority. I do still have respect for them, even though I don't want to be in the sorority, because I just feel like, on some real shit, y'all, my spirit team blocked that, okay? Like, they was like, block, 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 sis. That ain't meant for you, sis. That's not the journey you're supposed to be walking, sis. And it took me some time to get to that understanding. However, if I'm being real with myself, y'all, when I got dropped from that sorority, I took a trip. My first trip out of the country, okay? And now I'm in South Korea, okay? So it was bigger than me and it was bigger than them. And I'm thankful for everything that happened, whether it was what I thought I wanted or what, okay? So this is not meant to be a bashing video. And if that's what you're looking for, this ain't it, okay? This ain't it, okay? Now, I am going to also, well, I don't know. I'm not going to really be touching that much detail about like the backstory about the process. However, if you're interested in like, what actually went down, like how did the process happen for you, and how did it work? How did you end up getting dropped? What was the elements that really took place? If you're interested in that, just let me know in the comments, and then I may make a separate video touching base on like just giving y'all all the tea, okay? If y'all interested, let me know. Now, before we jump into all of that, because this is going to be a long video, I just want to let y'all know right now. So if you need to pause me right now and get your wine, your tea, your juice, whatever, and your little popcorn, sis, this is the time, okay? Now, before we jump in, because before we jump in, I just want to touch base first about my first retreat. Y'all know I also launched this in our last live as well. So April 9th through 15th, 2020, I'm hosting my first spiritual retreat in Bahia, Brazil, honey. And we are going to be healing, recharging, and activating our goddess. I just first got to give a big shout out to all my sisters. Not my sisters, girl, what I'm talking about. All my sis out there who are trying to book, who reached out to me and let me know that my payment button isn't working. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me know. Because I didn't realize that it wasn't working. And I'm now in communication with Wix. I built this site on Wix. So I'm just trying to basically get to the bottom of like, why is the button not working, because I know I embedded it properly. So once I have a solution and they figure out why it's not working and we get it working, I'm gonna just put a little update in the community. So if you're interested in booking and you haven't been able to book yet, keep an eye on the community, because like I said, it's only 6 spots available, and when they go, they go. And it is the early bird special right now. So basically, if you're booking before November the 16th, which is Friday, then basically you get like $225 off the total retreat price. So be on the lookout, sis, okay? Because I'm telling you, people been hitting me up and it's gonna go. Okay, it's gonna go, and you don't want to miss this. Like, I have so many amazing things planned for this retreat. Like, baby, sis, okay? Sis. Okay, Okay. So yeah, now let's jump on in. Okay, let's jump on into this story time. So I went home, right? And like I said, well, I don't know if I really said this. However, I don't think a lot of people say this. You know, being dropped from a sorority, whether it's a black sorority or a non-black sorority, it can be a very triggering thing. You know what I mean? It's like rejection. You know what I mean? It's a moment, whether it's out of your control or not. You know, in my situation, I felt like it was more out of my control. It was more so like elements was happening behind the scenes that I wasn't really aware of until now. And not enough people address it. You know what I mean? Not enough people are actively talking about the fact that they have been dropped and they are needing a process of healing. And even some people who have been successful in gaining their letters have still been through traumatic experiences, you know, in their process, whether they were underground or not. And they need a healing session, and people don't really be talking about it because I feel like it's a bit taboo in a sense, you know what I mean? And, you know, sororities are trying to maintain this image, which I get. However, I just realized, after realizing, okay, this was truly not meant for me to walk, and coming to terms with that, because for the longest I was having a hard time coming to terms with it. And I really believed in my spirit for the longest that, like, okay, I didn't make it during the undergraduate. It's okay. I'm going to come in on the graduate, even though that ain't ideal. Because let's be real, you know, undergraduate experience and graduate experience is a different experience, honey. It's different, okay? And, you know, most people want to come in undergraduate, want to enjoy your sorority experience in your undergraduate moment, you know? And that's not what happened. And I had to come to terms with that. However, I feel like I was a bit in denial for a big chunk of time, because I graduated college in 2014. We are now in 2019. Okay, and this is the first conversation that I have had, like an honest conversation that I've had with a member of the sorority. And I just realized that, like, I just realized how triggered I was, you know, because it was something that happened because I was still in contact with all the members of the sorority, and I was following them. They was following me, you know. Sometimes they try to check on me, some of them. We tried where we could, basically. However, something specific happened to me this year that I really felt like, oh no, I gotta cut this off, and this is very triggering for me, and I must release it. And that was basically, I saw that our line was coming back. Okay, so basically, I was on Facebook. One of the members of the sorority posted a flyer. I could have seen this flyer wrong based on the conversation that I'm about to share with y'all. However, what my eyes saw was a blank sorority is returning to blank school. And I was like, oh no. When I tell y'all I saw this flyer and I was so triggered by it, I was like, oh hell no. Like, I'm so triggered by this. I don't want to be seeing nothing from this sorority. Like, I can't even, like, I just can't, you know? So I proceeded to block everybody. Everybody got to go, okay? I don't care if I like you or not. Everybody got to go, because I'm feeling so triggered from this that the image of this sorority is bringing up some feelings that I don't like. So I legitimately blocked everybody. Like, literally. I unfriended and blocked everybody. Or so I thought. Okay, so I thought. So I went home, right? And y'all know I went home. I posted on my Facebook, y'all, I'm home. I got a good 2 weeks for y'all. Let's do a little something, shake a little ass, you know. Girl, one of the members messaged me, she was on my first line, the first line that I got dropped from. She was on my first line. And so she messaged me, and she was like, hey, I see you're home. How long are you home for? And I was really taken aback, right? I was really taken aback because, like I said, maybe like 4 months prior to that, I thought I had blocked everybody. Okay, I thought I hadn't been seeing nothing of nobody on my line. I hadn't been seeing anything on my timeline, right? So I'm like, okay, first of all, why is she messaging me? I thought I blocked her, and just having a moment of like, oh, like just shock, and just it did something to me. You know what I mean? It did something to me. And so it took me a while to respond to her. Like, I didn't respond to her immediately. Like, I must have took at least like 4 days before I even hit her back and said, oh, I feel like I told her like, oh, I'm in town. No. I was like, oh, hey, I'm here until next week. Oh, yeah, I took a long time to respond to her. I took a minute. And then I was just basically telling her about my flights and things like that. And then she just messaged me back, okay. Now, we have been going through retrogrades and just a lot of energy shifting. So I feel like it was more so just because my spirit knew I needed to speak my truth. So I was feeling guilty about ignoring her, because I like legitimately ignored her for a couple of days as I was processing, or maybe longer than a couple of days. I don't know. Whenever she messaged me, I ain't message right back, okay? And I just was feeling guilty about it. I was just like, damn, because on some real shit, y'all, if I had to name one person out of everybody in the sorority who I felt like, just really tried to maintain a connection with me, it was her. Like, I feel like she really genuinely cared about me. You know what I mean? So I was feeling a little guilty after I ended up leaving, after I was processing just, because sometimes when you're traveling and you're moving real fast, sometimes it's hard to process everything. However, once I had a moment and I had kind of sat in it and I was like, ooh, that wasn't right, Courtney. That wasn't right. So let's go ahead and address it. And that's just the season that I'm in right now of just being honest. Like, you're going to get this honesty from me, whether you want it or not. You're going to get it. Okay. So I text her. The first thing that I text her, I said, can we have an honest moment? And she said, hey, what's going on? Okay. So let's jump in the first message. So I told her, I said, I'm not sure if you felt a way about me taking a while to respond back when you asked me how long I was in the States. I honestly was a little thrown aback because as much as I love you, I didn't realize that I hadn't unfriended you. I was honest, okay? That may come off harsh. However, I say all of this with love. I felt triggered as fuck by the new line, and I unfriended everybody. Every association after that, every association of this organization, I unfriended. I realized it wasn't in alignment with my life to join the organization during college, and I'm okay with that now. However, it still hurt me on a deep level that I didn't get the type of sister energy, bond, and moments I was joining for. I truly felt robbed at the time and slightly dismissed afterwards, even though I know it wasn't intentional. I know y'all cared for me, but it was just such a gray area that I believe the advisor and the older members didn't know how to handle, which is true. Which is true, because I feel like, it really truly was a great area, for my first line to go on without me. And then my second line, we all got dropped. And then, the members that were already in the organization just I felt like even they felt a little bit guilty because they knew what I had put in to be in this organization and then to not be able to join. However, at the same time, I just felt like, they didn't know how could we be sisters? I didn't cross the burning sands. You know what I mean? So it was a gray area. Okay. So I got it. So then she replied to me and she said, no, I didn't feel a way. I honestly didn't notice. I felt like maybe you were busy. There is no new line. So I'm not really sure where that information came from. I thought we were friends outside of this organization. Not to discredit / invalidate how you feel, but our friendship may have started meeting through this organization, but it grew to be more. Well, at least I thought it did. We've talked since 2013, so I'm not sure when that period occurred of when you unfriended everyone, but I personally don't feel as though I treated you any differently. I can't speak for anyone else. Okay, so this is what she messaged me, and I was like, okay, sis, I get all of that. Let me just express where I'm coming from. So I tell her, I said, okay, maybe it was weighing on my spirit because I knew how I was feeling and what was going on behind the scenes with me. So I needed to be honest and straightforward with you. And no, you didn't change on me. I do honestly feel like you were the only person to really frequently check in on me and stay in touch with me, which is why it's important for me to have this open, honest moment with you. I actually saw a organizational flyer of this organization coming back on such and such's page around mid 2019. I could have misread it now that you're saying that there isn't any lines. However, it still triggered me so much emotionally that I was just like, no, I can no longer have any more of this organization, nothing around me. I just felt like a major release was needed, and that was the best way for me to start to heal from the pain I was still feeling from those periods of time. To be completely transparent, friendship and relationship building was always tough for me because of how I grew up. Communicating and trying to build the non-existent relationship with my mother, our family, with my some. Let me try this again. Because of how I grew up, communicating and trying to build the non-existent relationship with my mother. Our family is broken in that area, and even though a shift is happening, there is still some major healing needed to bring us back together as a proper family unit. I'm still growing and learning how to have healthy relationships that are mutually serving, uplifting, and supportive. However, I know that I'm developing that skill for the better. I honestly didn't realize we met in 2013. That does translate to a big chunk of time knowing each other. However, over the past few years, our line of communication had waned. For me, length of time in a relationship has never held weight for me because I've had experiences where time was never a factor when I was mistreated or rejected. What does hold weight for me in relationships is communicating regularly on a deeper than surface level. That's when I feel like a person is a part of my circle and support system. I long for divine connections in relationship. So if you can release and any negative feelings that may have so if you can release any negative feelings that may have risen by my statement of unfriending you or anything else that may have hurt you during this moment of honesty, if you would like to start to rebuild our communication in that way, I would be so open to turning a new leaf with you. Okay, so I just felt like, babe, I've just laid it all out, right? I just laid it all out. Like, let me tell you straight up what's what. Okay, so she responds to me and she says, I appreciate your transparency and honesty. However, it's unsettling that there was a problem for years and I wasn't aware of it. The organization situation was beyond my control, and I feel like for you to say you're willing to turn over a new leaf makes it seem as if I wronged you. I never did. I attempted to keep contact through WhatsApp when you moved. Life happens and people lose touch. A lot has transpired in my life over the past few years as well, but I would not hold it against you for not reaching out to me and checking on me. In my definition of friendship, you don't have to talk all the time to validate the relationship. We should be able to pick up where we left off, seeing as though we're thousands of miles away from each other. I definitely don't mind moving forward, but I need to process what you shared with me. Now, y'all, after that, I had to take a step back, okay? Because you got to be careful when your flesh arises, when you start to feel a little bit triggered or when you start to feel like I'm not being heard, basically. Because I felt like that response was like, you didn't get what I was saying. You didn't understand me. You didn't understand what I was trying to express. And you're still trying to tell me what you feel like is what you feel like is the way that you communicate, or just the way that you validate a friendship. And I'm like, I'm trying to express to you that don't hold no weight for me, and I don't validate friendships that way. Like, I grew up different than a lot of people. I did. Okay. So, the way I build relationships and the way that I feel secure in relationships and supported and loved and accepted and heard is different from how a lot of other people have, and I understand that. And at the same time, it's like, I'm telling you that, but you ain't hearing it. Okay. So I didn't respond immediately back, because it was kind of like that morning I read her message, and it just was a heavy weight to be reading it early in the morning. And I was like, you know what? No, let me get into my morning routine, and let me woosah, and let me just breathe, and let me just, get into my spiritual space before I even get up on this phone, because that's important. Since I have stopped teaching, I realized having a morning spiritual routine that truly feeds your spiritual side is so important. It's so important. Like, I ain't starting no days without having a moment to, light a candle for clarity, get my crystals together, meditate a bit, move my energy. You know what I mean? Like, sis, say my gratitude. You know what I mean? Like, I need a moment. So I was just like, wait, because I don't want to respond in in my flesh. I don't want to respond in a place of negativity or a place of like defensiveness. So let me just take a moment, and then let me come back and respond. So I actually ended up responding the next day, just because that's how Spirit had it work out. So what I told her, I said, yeah, I'm going to give you some time to process everything I shared, because one, I know it was a lot to drop on you, and two, I can tell by your response that you didn't understand what I was trying to express. And also, I just like to ask that you try not to take any of my words out of context. For example, like the turning over a new leaf, because by no means did I mean that you wronged me in any way. I acknowledge that you didn't, and a lot of things were out of your control. I just meant starting on a new slate where we are both fully aware of what relationships mean to us, so we can grow and build a strong, supportive, uplifting relationship accordingly. Because I mean, like, come on, if you don't know what I weigh in a relationship, like if what we weigh as a good relationship is different, how can we build? How can we grow? It might be situations like this where you think we on good terms, and I'm over here like, baby, we was cool once upon a time. However, I'm not looking at you as a friend right now. People telling me like, oh, we've been knowing each other since 2013. I don't care about that. Because I'm the type of person that, like, if your energy is no longer serving me, if you're triggering to me, baby, I will cut that ass off. I don't care about people talking about, we've been friends for 10 years and that's why I don't want to let them go. Baby, bye. Spirit says you cannot continue on this journey with me. Bye. So this is why it's important to communicate, even with friends, any type of relationships. It's important to lay out what you value, what is important for you in a relationship. That's important. And we had never really had that conversation, and this is our first time having it. So it was like, I understand that you're saying this is what you value, but that's not what I value as being, something that makes me value a relationship more. So let's get on the same page, let's get on the same page. And then I said, and before I go, I also, uplifting relationship accordingly. And before I go, I also get how you may be feeling uneasy about the idea of me having an issue for years. However, at the same time, I would like to also ask for understanding, because people process trauma in different ways. And honestly, for the longest time, I didn't even have words to put to how I was really feeling, or like I could confide in any of you. However, now that my communication skills are growing and I'm in this season of release, and just the opportunity that has presented itself to have an honest conversation with you, it felt like the right time to tell you. And I still believe that it was. So I personally don't see anything wrong with however long it takes to express emotions, since we're all still healing. So yeah, that's where I'm at on all of that. Nothing but love for you, boo. And that was that, because I just felt like, on one hand, you know, like, if you've been dropped from a sorority, it's like almost like, I personally just feel like it's y'all against me, you know, like, you know, because like, real shit, my first line, they all could have stood up and said, if she ain't on it, I'm not on it. But that ain't what happened. And I get it. And it's like, it's not, I'm not holding anything against y'all. However, at the same time, it's like, y'all did what was best for y'all. You know what I mean? So now y'all are all in this organization, and how can my one self come up to y'all and, like, it just wasn't that type of, I just didn't feel comfortable doing that, basically. I didn't feel comfortable truly being able to express myself. And like I said, for the longest, I was figuring out, like, how do I even express myself? I didn't even realize that I, you know, had a traumatic moment. Like, I knew I was sad. However, it's like I didn't realize that I had a traumatic moment, and I was triggered in a lot of ways until years later. And then just being able to get to this point of like, okay, I know I don't want to be in this sorority. Maybe that just gave me some extra confidence of like, I can speak my truth. However, you know, we all know when you're joining a sorority, you got to be careful about how you getting your attention and what you saying. So I'm like, at what point could I have expressed the trauma that I'm feeling, and who would have really gave a damn? You know? So I text her that, and she has not responded, and I'm okay with it. Like, I'm like, I said what I had to say, and you didn't get it. However, at the same time, she's younger than me by a good couple of years. So it's like, I get it. And I kind of also felt like after this conversation, I was like, oh, she finna go back and tell everybody. But I don't care. I'm like, make it be known. Go ahead and be the messenger if that's what's on your spirit. Yeah. I'm just where I'm at on it. That's on that. Like, y'all did trigger me. That process was triggering as fuck. That process was very traumatic for me, and I am still healing. Seriously. So literally, I want to say around Halloween, because this was happening around Halloween, and I also did a ritual on Halloween night for release, because I knew that I was about to go into a transit, which I'm currently in a transit until about February 20th. And I just knew that I needed to prepare before I entered the transit, because basically this transit is like a propeller of like, I'm propelling you to your next level. So I know some shit probably gonna pop off during this transit. However, I also know that I'm fully prepared to handle whatever arises. So I just wanted to make sure that before the transit happened, I was clearing out things that needed to be released. And I didn't realize, like, this just kind of, like, when I tell y'all, I had no intention of having this conversation. It just kind of popped up. You know what I mean? It like, spirit know what it's doing, and I just be listening and following. So when it popped up, I was like, oh, I'm still holding things in about this process, about this Black sorority process. And this is an opportunity for me to speak the truth, because I know automatically, you know, like, sororities talk even after they have all gone off to live their own life. Like, I know that it was most likely, I feel like a good 95%, 98% chance that, like, she didn't tell everybody on notice. Everybody know. But at this point, I don't care. I don't care. I'm like, I'm at such a secure, grounded, protected place that I'm like, anybody can get this truth. That's where I'm at. Like, I know that I'm healing my throat chakra, and I've been working on this. Like, while I was in Brazil, y'all, I was having such a spiritual moment. Like, my goddess is unlocked, and honey, she speaks her truth. You gonna get it, period. So yeah, that was our conversation. And I'm just hoping that y'all use this as a blueprint of, like, you know, if you're having a moment, like how to start communicating and how to say what you need to say. And it's okay to say, look, I understand you don't get what I'm saying. It's okay. I understand. You need a moment to process. I understand. Take your time. Okay? Take your time. Do what you got to do. However, that's not my responsibility. That's not my responsibility. And that's just that on that. Okay? So before we go, I want to jump into our 3 takeaways. I actually wrote them down on a little piece of paper just so I can make sure that I was clear. So my 3 takeaways, like after I processed this conversation, because truly, y'all, when I processed this conversation, I felt good about myself. I felt good in my truth, and I just felt good about, you know, how I released it. You know what I mean? Because I feel like at no point did I point the finger, you know, at her. And like, I just felt like I was very clear and very vulnerable and very open. And I know sometimes being vulnerable, open, and honest is tough for people. However, you gotta do it. If you're trying to have an open conversation and you're really trying to heal, those things are necessary. Now, in terms of the 3 takeaways that I got from this conversation after I had a couple of days, I was like, okay, Spirit, I see ya. First of all, the first thing that you have to be mindful of is checking your intention. Okay, because like I said, remember it was that moment in the conversation where I had to step back a bit and then I had to come back and I responded the next day. I feel like when you enter a conversation of conflict, of like, there's a conflict, no matter how small or how big, this is a conflict and I need to express myself. First off, you need to check your intentions going into it. Before you even send the first message of, can we have a conversation? You need to be making sure that you're not in a place of pettiness. I know this whole petty train is a big movement that's been taking place in our generation, but that shit ain't cute, sis. That shit ain't cute. Like, being petty ain't cute, and ain't nobody healing in a petty space. So you got to be coming with good intentions. You got to be coming from a place of love. You know, you got to be coming from a place of understanding, of a place of, like, you know, just like I'm entering this space with love. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just trying to express myself. That's where you have to enter on. That's the level you got to enter on. And at any point in the conversation, if you feel like that level is switching, you got to step back. You got to step back and you just got to be like, wait, okay. I'm going to respond once I get back in my place of peace. Once I get back in my place of love. When I get back there, then I'll reprocess what has been said, and then I'll send my response. Because sometimes just because you've been triggered, you filter things differently. You know what I mean? Like, you could be triggered in a negative way and you can feel it. You could misread what someone has said. So sometimes you need that time to just step back and say, okay, let me reread this later. I may have read this in a different light. Let me reread this later and then let me respond. And that's what I did. And then I felt like that response came from a place of love. All my responses, I felt like, came from a place of love, integrity, honesty, and, you know, just authenticity. Like, this is just straight up what it is, you know? It ain't nothing I can't sugarcoat it. It's the truth, you know? So, 1, check your intentions first. That's your responsibility. Check your intentions. Make sure you're coming from a place of peace and you're coming from a place of love. Number 2, don't take it personal if they get defensive or don't understand what you're trying to express. Because I realized from her response, when I had broke it down, you know, sis, because I like broke it down. Like, I didn't just say, like, this is what triggered me in the, you know, from going through this Black sorority process. No, sis, I see the alignment. I see how this aligns to my childhood. I see how these are things that I experienced in childhood that hurt me. And this is how I am used to processing it. And this is how I'm trying to learn how to process it better. And she didn't get it. She got kind of defensive and she felt like I was trying to say that she had wronged me, even though I made it clear in different points. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say. You know, because sometimes people project. Sometimes people try to take your words because, like I said, they may feel triggered. And they may have processed it in one way that is not the way it was intended. And you just, say that like, that's not what I was saying. that's not what I was saying. However, it's important for you to realize your only responsibility is to speak your truth in a loving, authentic way, in a place of peace. How somebody takes it is not your responsibility. And you got to be okay with that. Like, you may not get a warm response. You may not get a, loving response. Like, they may take offense to what you have said. And I felt like she did. She took offense to what I said. However, I had peace in knowing that I came to this conversation with love. I'm not speaking anything but truth. And I also know that I'm not attacking you. How you have taken it, that's you. That's your responsibility. That's what you took, okay? That's not what I'm giving. That's not what I'm sending, and that's not what I'm laying out here for us. So you got to be okay with that. Don't take it personal. Don't let that shift your energy if they don't take it, if they don't understand what you're trying to say, and if they get defensive. Number 3, express your truth. Even if it takes years to do. Nobody has the right to tell you how long it should take for you to express your truth. Because at one point with her saying just like, it bothered her about the fact that it took me, that I've been having issue for all this period of time. Like, I just felt like you don't get to tell me how I process. No. And a lot of times people do that. I even recall a time where I was working at a salon in Houston, and it was like a mother of my friend, and she kind of was doing some things, However, I just recall how emotional I would get often. I'm an emotional person. I'm connected to my emotions, and I don't have a poker face. Like, if I'm feeling something, it comes out. I'm not the type of person that can hide it or make it look like something else. If I gotta cry, I'm gonna cry. If I'm angry, I'm angry. Whatever emotion pops up, I'm in it, And I just remember her always trying to make me tough and just saying little things about like how expressing yourself and expressing your emotions, or even like, let's say you're in a conversation of conflict and you cry, she just felt like that's manipulative, and I don't agree. I'm like, however you need to express it, coming from a place of love and peace, or just however long it takes for you to express it. Because like I said, that process of like realizing like, oh my God, I am still hurt by this process. I am still hurt and feeling rejection from this Black sorority. You know what I mean? Like, that process was tough. It was not an easy journey. You know what I mean? It was not, sis. It was not. And I was not going to be paper. Okay? If you know, you know. So it was not easy. And then to put in all that work and still not get what I came here for, and to be like, I legitimately felt rejected. So you don't get to tell me how long I have to heal. You don't get to tell me how long I have to process. Like, I just found that to be very interesting for her to say that, you don't get to tell me. And at the same time, I also want to just say that letters work too. So even if you feel like you can't express yourself fully to whoever you need to express it to, or let's say you just feel like, look, I just know that they're not in a mental place to where they would even receive it or even be open to this conversation. That's okay too. You can speak to their spirit, because their spirit gonna show up and their spirit gonna get it. And you can write a letter out. Because even like I had that conversation with her, and then after that I started writing a letter to the actual organization, because I'm like, this shit gonna come out. It's coming out. You know what I mean? So those are my 3 takeaways. Just to recap: 1, check your intentions. You want to be coming in love, and you want to be coming in peace. And at any point, if you feel like that energy has shifted, take a step back, get back to your peace and love, and then reread and respond, okay? Number 2, don't take it personal. If they don't understand what you're trying to express, or if they get defensive, that's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to speak your truth, period. Okay? Number 3, express your truth, even if it takes years for you to even understand. Don't let nobody tell you how long or put a time limit on you expressing yourself. Everybody processes things different. And if you need to write a letter to get it out, write a letter. Okay? Write your letter and be done with it. Burn that hoe. Okay? So yeah, those were my 3 takeaways. And this was my detailed conversation about a bit of conflict that I had with a Black sorority that I was dropped from twice. So I would be so curious to know what y'all took away from this conversation. Let me know in the comment section what you took away from this conversation, and just anything that you feel, you know, so inclined to share with me. And I'm just so grateful. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being my virtual support system, because I appreciate y'all, girl. Yes for you. Okay. So yeah, I'm super excited. I hope y'all all are having an amazing Sunday. It's actually Monday right now in Korea. Girl, the sun is out, but it's cold here. So I'm about to get some food and, you know, get my life, period. So thank you so much for being here. As always, remember, people will stare and make it worth their while. See y'all later. Bye.